Hello everyone, this is Shan from VKS, back again with another Guidebook of the Week series. I hope you all are having a wonderful day today as we will be looking at a simple cabinet door building process. This process would be the foundation to any of your woodworking or carpentry work and can be applicable to any of you that are building any type of furniture pieces at your home, at a institution, schools, at a manufacturing facilities, or at any organization or any environment. We want to show you how you can use VKS platform to better standardize your practices, create easy to read SOPs, which will in return give you maximum efficiency, productivity, and of course give you the topmost quality product. Well, let's just dive into our guidebook of the week to see how that looks and to see how intuitive each and every step is using the different elements and features. So to start off with our work instruction, we'll choose by clicking on Start. And before jumping into the work instruction, we are prompted by a smart form. So these are customizable forms that you can build within your work instruction, and this comes under our Pro version. What means that if you're looking for any type of traceability, looking to validate your process, collect data, be it create digital checklists, collect measurements, or any of that sort, you can create these customizable smart forms with different types of layouts. So here it's required that the operator put in the work order number. And we have a preset of production quantity that they must complete, total production in time, and setup time in minutes. And note how it has red dots. This means that it's mandatory to input that information or you cannot move on to the next step. Once you save that information gets stored into a production report and gets stored into this productivity table so you can track your expected work time, expected units, setup plus cycle time, and cycles. Let's move on to the visual step here. On the left hand side, we have some pictograms. Anytime you want to indicate to your operator any type of safety measurements that they need to take or safety equipments that they must wear, you can add that in pictogram form. So here it's important that the operator wears safety glasses and safety boots, again to avoid any injuries or hurt themselves. And then moving on to our visual step here, this is our setup step, which basically indicates the part that we must build. So again, you can add a general text annotation. So this text annotation can be added if you're adding general information, general header, general instruction. So this is indicating that it's a shaker style MDF cabinet door build. And then we have added some different annotation here, which are called droplets. Droplets can be used anytime you want to add notes, indicated as a operation sequence, for example, critical dimension, or quality check. So since it's yellow, that means it's indicated as notes. For different situation, it would be different colors. So here, let's look at our first note. It's indicated as styles. So it's in woodworking, there's terminologies that are used when installing your parts. So all vertical parts here for our cabinet doors are indicated, are considered as styles. So here, two parts are styles. And then we have our second note, which are your horizontal parts are considered as rails. So here we'll be dealing with styles, rails, and our third note, panel. So these are the parts that we will be dealing with in order to build our cabinet door. Moving on to elements here, we have a few elements that have been added to this work instruction. Our first element here are schematic drawing. So if you're working with AutoCAD, SolidWorks, or any type of drawings that you want to attach or any type of information that you want to attach to your work instruction, you can attach different types of media to your work instruction. So you can refer to this at any time if you want to look at a particular information. Here's the production information that we saw at the beginning of the work instruction. We have quantity completed, and anytime within your work instruction, if you want to enter, if you are stopping your job and not completing your 4 units, you can always enter the number of units you have completed, and it showcases the time you have completed it at, so you can save that information. Let's move on to the next step. So on to the next step, we have some guidelines here. So we have a text step option. So this is for any of your word heavy information, you want to add guidelines, table of contents, or anything like that, you can take advantage of our text step option. So instead of adding pictures or videos, you can add this to indicate any type of important information that they have to follow before starting the job. So here it's showing us the 5 P's construct, The first step is to go and measure the opening of the cabinets very well, and then showing the clearance that you need, the acceptable range, the list of materials, and the list of tools. And then at the end it indicates to refer to the safety data sheet. So either you can attach this in PDF form or you can add a link. So we want to show you the different ways and how you can use the different elements that we have within our platform. So this is an external page that directs you once you click on the link, and it shows you all the information that you need to know about the MDF board. And of course you can access this at any time within your work instruction. And an alternative way of how you can add your list of materials and tools, we do have a bill of materials feature within our platform. So you can add your list of materials here, and you can access this bill of materials at any time within your work instruction. Let's move on to the next step.
Using power tools incorrectly can be dangerous. If you are at all uncomfortable doing something, don't do it.
Alright, so this is an alert notification that you can add within your work instruction. Again, it's very important if there's any type of cautionary step, quality, or any step that they must be aware of, you can have that as an alert message so it pops up there. You can have it enabled with audio or disable it, but it's at least there to show the operators that they must take safety precautions in what they're dealing with. So in this example, we're dealing with a power tool, so it's very important to make sure that they are aware of any precautions that they must take before operating this power tool. And again, before jumping onto the step, we have another form that we've created, and you can have this trigger at any point, either before the step or after the step. You can have it triggered at any point, within minutes, within cycles, within steps. You can pick the options there. So here it's asking us to scan the serial number of the 1/2-inch MDF board. So this is the MDF board that we're going to be using for this step, but it wants you to scan the serial number to make sure that you're using the right board. So either you can scan this using your scanner. You might have a serial number on the board with a barcode. You can either scan that. So let's say you scanned it and it imprints this number. So you can either scan it or manually enter it, and of course validate that you have the right serial number there. So we'll just confirm this and save that. And again, that information does get stored into a production report, which you can always review. But let's just go with this step here. Place the 1/2-inch MDF board on the table saw and cut 16-inch wide for your panel. So here you're working with your panel, and it clearly indicates all the steps here and how you should go about in order to cut your panel width. Make sure the MDF board stays flush against the fence for a straight cut. Again, this is very important, and you want to make sure that you have a straight cut and not a abnormal cut. And again, everything is very intuitive here into the step. It shows the fence, how you should align the board, how much you should cut from the fence, indicating the table saw, and the direction you should bring the board in order to have that cut. Let's move on to the next step. Again, your next step, you want to scan the serial number of your next board that you would be using. So this is the serial number of the 1/4-inch MDF board that you have. And again, we'll record this number. So in the previous example, we asked to scan it, and in the other example, we are asking you to enter it manually. So we just want to show you the different ways you have the option to either scan or enter it manually. Let's save that information. So here, next, take the 1/4-inch MDF wood and cut 2 1/4-inch wide for your rails and stiles. So this are for your side pieces that we've seen in the previous step. So again, clearly indicates 2.25 inches from the fence and the direction of cut. Let's move on to the next step. So on the next step, mark the strips against the panel and cut them to length using a table saw. So you want to align all your strips that you cut, and you want to align it with your panel to make sure where you want to cut it. So again, we've indicated the stile dimension and the rails dimension as well, and this is the cut that you need to make. And we'll move on to the next step. Again, next you want to use, after you have cut all of your stile and rails and you align it on your panel, you want to use a tape measure to ensure you have the correct measurement of the stiles and rails that you had in the previous step. So again, you can add multiple images here showing the material that you're using or the tool that you're using, such as the measuring tape in this case. So again, you can also validate that you have the correct measurements by having a smart form pop up again. So this is collecting measurements. What are the lengths of your styles? So we want to measure the lengths of our styles to indicate that we are within the conformed measurement. So again, here we have some instruction. It's in inches, and both styles should be within 23.5 plus minus 0.1. So again, you can create your tolerances, create certain instructions to validate that they conform within that measurement. So again, we'll put 23.5 for our first style, and then for our second style, we'll put 23. Let's say we put 23.2. We're going out of the tolerance range, and it will give you an error and say the entered value is outside the expected range. Keep the entered value. So either at this point, let's say you still measure it and you still have 23.2, you can contact your supervisor. But let's say we have the right measurement. So we'll go with 23.4. We're good. And then we'll go with 11.5 in this one and 11.6 in the next one. So we're good because we conform within the tolerance range. Save that information and it brings you to the next step. So now you're applying the Gorilla Glue to all of the styles and rail strips and make sure the glue is evenly spread. And then the next strip, it's assembly. So you're lining up the edges of the styles and rails with glue onto the panel. Press each strip down so it stays flush and intact on the panel, as you can see here. And then in the end, you want to wipe off any glue that squeezes out with a damp rag. So again, we've added a multiple image here to indicate how to squeeze off any glue that squeezes out of the installation. And again, here it's just very easy for you to go through these steps, as you can see, and very easy for the eyes to go from 1, 2, and the third step. Let's move on to the next step. So stretch pieces of masking tape over the edge to hold the parts together. And it's indicating how you would put each masking tape on all of the sides. You have a countdown timer. So again, this countdown timer is for, in order for the glue to actually stay input with the panel. And then you would wait for a minute to make sure that it's glued. And these are one of the elements, of course, that you can add. And you can ensure that you've actually waited 1 minute and not waited less than that, because you want to make sure that it stays intact with the panel. So let's say it ran 36 seconds, so we'll wait till it runs, or you can just close it here. But you want to ensure that you stayed for the full 1 minute. Your next step, use table saw to trim all 4 sides. Essentially, you're trimming off the clearance so it can fit your cabinet. So your first note, again, the droplet that we've seen in our first step was a yellow droplet. Here it's a blue droplet. So anytime you're dealing with any type of physical operation and you're dealing it in sequence, you can add these droplets in order for them to cut. So again, our first droplet indicates remove 1/16 inch of edge. So that's your first side. And then you're going to turn to your other side and remove 1/16 edge as well. Same thing for the rails, and then the other rail. So again, this is very convenient if you're dealing with any type of sequencing or ordered of sequence or any type of operation. This just validates that you went through each and every part here. We'll move on to the next step. Sand the edges of the finished part with 120 grit sandpaper to ensure smooth and even surfaces. So showing you how you would use the sandpaper to smooth out all the sides there. And again, this is your last part of your first cycle, and you have a quality inspection form. So you can create your quality inspection. You might have different forms that you want to create to ensure that you have the topmost quality product, and you want to get it right the first time. So it's very important and critical that you actually have this form and you collect as much data as possible. So here it's asking our first question, are the styles and rails tightly glued in place on the panel? Again, you want to make sure that it's not out of place and it's all intact and everything is tightly glued. The next question, are the edges and corners of the finished part smooth? We have some instruction, smooth, even surfaces all around, no sharp edges. Yes. Now you want to take a picture. Again, these are optional, as you can see. Everything with the red dot means that it's required of you to answer that. and then here these are optional. So you can take a picture of the finished part, and then the administrator or your manager can review this to make sure that you have the right part. And then of course you have a section to add any comments or feedback that may be needed. So we'll write part was perfect, or you can write I had trouble building this part. You can pretty much write anything. It could be a good comment or a bad comment or something that you want to learn from. So we'll just save this information.
Using power tools incorrectly can be dangerous.
So as you can see, you're moving on to your second cycle, and it skips over your steps 1 and steps 2 because those were your setup steps. So you can indicate which are your setup steps and which are your production steps, and that's how you can go about your next oncoming cycles and skip over your setup steps so it doesn't waste time and only focuses on all of your production steps. So as you can see, they're all indicated as P. So you would essentially repeat the same thing again to complete your next unit, because you're expected to finish 4 units. So far you've completed 1, you've taken 15 minutes. So that's how it would be recorded to track your performance and your productivity. I hope you learned something new out of this guidebook of the week. And again, that was on cabinets and furniture. And if you want to learn more, you can book a demo with us at our VKSapp.com today, or contact your VKS customer service representative. Hope to see you all on the next one. Stay safe and have a great day.